So you have an opportunity to work with someone to write your lesson plan for this semester. You don't have to work with someone if you don't want to. It's completely up to you. But you can look in our discussion post in the Introduce Yourself section. Lots of people put great things about themselves there. And that's one way that you can connect with a lesson plan partner. So either way, by yourself or with a partner, it's up to you. This link links us to our Google Doc lesson plan project. This link takes you directly to a Google Doc folder. So let's click on that. And this is what you're going to see. You're going to see a page that has the names of all of our students there. And you will also see some attachments that go with what we'll be learning on this lesson plan project. I also want to show you one other thing. If you come back to Blackboard and go again over to the left-hand gray column, you're going to see a link that says our Google Doc lesson plans. And when you click on that link, it's going to take you back to that exact same page. So in case you get lost and you don't know, where did I get my lesson plans from? You can get it in two different ways. Here, and then of course you can click in our assignment calendar on the link there, and you can get the exact same thing. I want to take you back over to our Blackboard page, and underneath this link that says our Google Doc lesson plans, you also have a link that says, how does the Google Doc lesson plan work? Let's click on that. So I'll paraphrase what this says here for you. You can read this on your own, but basically what it says is when you add to your Google Doc lesson plan online, the beauty of using it is you don't have to download it. You don't have to save it. You don't have to edit. You don't have to upload it. You don't have to upload it to Blackboard. You don't have to email it. You write directly into the plan, which we will do in just a few minutes. And when you do that, it automatically saves. And I'm able to access your plan and go in to see what you've done. And what makes that so wonderful is, let's say that we are using Blackboard to submit these lesson plans. Well, we're doing this every week. Every week, I'm asking you to add a little something more to the plan so that by the end of the semester, we will have had our first experience writing a lesson plan that is aligned to state standards. That uploading back and forth can become an issue. So let's say, for instance, you are ready to turn in a submission and you upload it to Blackboard, and then maybe you remember later on, wait a minute, that wasn't the right version of it. So what you end up doing is emailing or calling or texting saying, Dr. Price, can you please let me upload the right version instead of the version I uploaded? That kind of stuff happens all the time. With the number of people in our class and the short amount of time that we have to learn these concepts, that can be really confusing after a while. With the Google Doc lesson plan, your last edits are your only edits. And so whenever I go in, I'll see your latest edit, and you don't have to keep up with throwing away those old ones. So again, no uploading, no downloading, no submitting, no emailing. None of that is necessary. It's a beautiful way for us to keep up with what you're doing on your lesson plan. And for your partner too, your partner will be able to work with you on that same document. I will go in every week and grade what you have put on your lesson plan. And when I do that, I will put a date on your plan with my text in red letters and yellow background, and that way you know that I have given you feedback. What I do ask for everyone to do is on your lesson plan, do choose another color besides red font or black font. You can choose green, blue, orange, any other color you want. That way I can see what you've added, you can see what I've added, and it becomes very, very clear. So let's open a template. I'm going to open the template down here at the bottom that does not have a name on it because all of the templates look exactly alike. So here is our cover page. Let me walk you through what this lesson plan template looks like all together. You'll recall that in some other things you've read for the course that we are writing 2 lesson plans this semester. We're writing them simultaneously. One of them is a face-to-face lesson plan. I'll scroll down very quickly so you can see the front page of that. Here's the face-to-face lesson plan. And by the way, what you'll notice is you'll see some yellow highlighted writing in the various sections. Those are supplemental things for you. you read that and click on some of those active links, they'll take you to some instructional pieces to show you how to do that section. And again, we'll come back to that a little bit later. But here is our face-to-face lesson plan template with all of the directions you need to write it. I'm going to walk you through and teach you everything that needs to go there, so try not to worry or fret. But all of that is the first lesson plan template, the face-to-face. And so what do you think the second lesson plan template will be? Well, given that we have been thrown into the grips of a pandemic, COVID-19, last spring, most of us learned in a very rude awakening that we needed to be ready just in case one day we couldn't come back to school and all learning had to be online. And so I don't feel like I would be a very good teacher if I sent you out at the end of this course without some type of concept of what you would do if you had to teach the exact same lessons online. So here is that second template, the online live instruction plan. So every time you fill out something for your face-to-face, you'll fill the same section out on your online live instruction. And basically the question you're asking yourself is, I know how to teach this lesson face-to-face. I've got a wonderful lesson plan for that. But what if? What if I were not able to teach face-to-face? How would I teach this exact same lesson online? So that means you won't be coming up with a brand new lesson, a brand new objective, a brand new set of standards that you're going to be writing your lesson from. You're going to take that same original standard and you're going to just decide, how am I going to teach this online? And that plan will go here. So let's start with our cover page. Our lesson design page is our cover page. It's going to be the cover page for both of those templates. And it says put your answers in a different color other than red or green, or red, I should say red or black. Let me change that to black, other than red or black. and then you'll see exactly what you're supposed to put in each section. So the first one says write your name and your partner's name if you have one here. I'm going to fill this out with a name, and I'm going to put Johnny Brown. He is our student in EDUC 1301. And let's say that Johnny Brown has a lesson partner, and the lesson partner is Maria Soto. Okay, those are our two lesson plan partners. Here, you're going to choose you and your partner, or just you by yourself. Doesn't matter whether you want a partner or not. Decide what you want to do with that. You'll put the grade level that you would like your lesson plan to address. For here, I'm going to say third grade. You can choose what grade you want. You and your partner have that option to do that. Next, the subject area. You and your partner can decide what subject you want your lesson plan to be. And let's say that it's going to be math. So that's how you fill out that section. Now here comes the section where you've got to do just a little bit of thinking, but not a whole lot. It says write the knowledge and skill and student expectation you selected here. Underneath that in yellow, you see my directions to show you what does that mean, how do you do it. So let's read that. You need to look up the standards here and copy the knowledge and skill and student expectation exactly how you see it written in the TEKS. Please click here to see page 1 of my lesson plan example in this same Google Drive folder. It gives you an example of what to follow, and the TEKS can be found here. So I've put 2 links in here for you to access. Let's access my lesson plan link first. So when you click on that link, you'll see that my lesson plan example pops up. When you go to that example and click on it, it's going to pop up right there for you to see. And you can go right here where it says write the knowledge and skill and student expectation you selected here, and you can see what I put on my example. I put knowledge and skill, and then something that began with a number and a statement, and then student expectation and something that began with a letter, and then a statement. Where did I get that from? Let's go back. So here we are at our template again, and we're going to find out where did I get that knowledge and skill and that student expectation. Well, the next link in this same area says Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills. We're going to call that TEKS from now on. And when you click on that link, a URL is going to pop up. Just put your pointer on that, click on it, and it's going to take us directly to the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills. Now, what are the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills? What are the TEKS? What does that mean? Well, every single state in the U.S. has standards that students must master. Students must learn. So we don't get to choose. This is what I tell all of my teachers. When you become a teacher, you have some choices and other choices you don't. One choice that you don't have is what you're going to teach. The TEKS are the what. They are the standards. So I'll use those terms interchangeably. I'll say TEKS, I'll say standards, but you need to know that that's the what that students have to learn, the goals that they have to reach. Something else to think of regarding the TEKS, this is the curriculum. Curriculum is the what that you have to learn. So there are 3 words now that you know. You can say TEKS, you can say standards, you can say curriculum. All 3 of those mean it is the what. It's what students have to learn and teachers have to teach. We don't get a chance to determine what students learn in our schools, in our public schools. And so some of you may think, well, that makes things kind of limited. Well, I invite you to go and visit the TEKS, as we are in just a few minutes, to see how in-depth they really are. There's not a whole lot left, especially in the math and reading areas that you would not be teaching your students in by using this as your what, or your curriculum, or your standards. So our students are pretty well covered. And one more word about curriculum. Some people always confuse textbooks with the curriculum. Well, those textbooks are written from some type of standards, and those standards are really the what. All textbooks in Texas don't teach based upon the TEKS. And so if you were to use a textbook like that, you would have to pick and choose what you could from that textbook in order to make sure that what you taught your students aligned with the TEKS. So that's a quick lesson on one thing that we don't have control over. We also don't really have control over when we teach these things. And I'll come back to that point in just a few minutes, but let's go ahead and review what this is going to show us. On this TEKS page, when you scroll down just a little bit, you're going to see all of the subjects that the TEKS cover. So there's a set of TEKS K through 12 for almost everything here. Okay, let's go to our math, for example. If I want to see just math, I'm going to click on this link. And when it opens up, I'm going to see that the TEKS for math in Texas are divided in elementary TEKS, middle school TEKS, high school TEKS, and then there are some other high school mathematics down there. We're going to hover up here in the elementary because I think we said our lesson plan, our sample lesson plan is going to be 3rd grade. Yes, we did. So let's go over here to this little button next to the 3rd grade and let's click on that. And when we click on this, it's going to open up to the page that begins the 3rd grade TEKS. Now, what you're looking at right now is the introduction. And if we were in a course where we were to go in depth in lesson design, in depth in TEKS, in depth in a lot of things, then I would take time to introduce the introduction to you. But the course we're taking right now, EDUC 1301, it's a surveying type of course. So we're learning about diversity, we're learning about school reform, we're learning about philosophies. Our lesson plan is in addition to all of that we're learning, and so that you'll have a basic understanding of how to write one. So we won't spend a lot of time on this introduction because for our immediate purposes, it's not necessary. But if we scroll down a little bit more to B, now notice the introduction is A. Scroll down to B, now we have our knowledge and skills. This is what we need. So here's a hint. Knowledge and skill statements always begin with a number. So here is the first knowledge and skill. Okay, here's the second one. Here's the third one. And there are quite a few all the way down. So those are your knowledge and skills for third grade math. The student expectations are underneath each one of those knowledge and skill statements. So A is a student expectation, B is a student expectation, C is a student expectation. And what you're going to do for your lesson plan, you and your partner or you alone, you're going to choose one of these knowledge and skill statements. And then underneath the knowledge and skill statement that you selected, you're going to choose one of those student expectations. So back to my statement about what freedoms teachers have and don't have. I've already established that we do not have freedom to just choose whatever we want to teach our students. We must teach the TEKS. So the what we don't have control over. The when we have maybe a little control over, but not really, because each district has what's called a scope and sequence. And that scope and sequence is the TEKS arranged in a particular order. So usually when you go to a school district, someone is going to show you how to access that scope and sequence online. And you will see, okay, during the first 6 weeks, we're going to cover this set of TEKS. Second 6 weeks, we're going to cover this set of TEKS. And they will not be necessarily in the order that they appear here. They will be in some other order according to that district and according to that scope and sequence, and according to whether or not it's 6 weeks or 9 weeks, because some districts do 9 weeks. So we don't have control over the when, we don't have control over the what. What and when we don't have control over. We'll get to the how in just a few minutes. Let's look at what you're going to put on that lesson plan. So writing a lesson plan in our class like this, we get to choose which one we want to do. So we're going to choose. Let's choose this knowledge and skill. And what I'm going to do is simply copy it. And I'm going to go over to my template. And where it says to put the knowledge and skill, I'm going to paste it right there. That's all we have to do there. But we're not done because it says write the knowledge and skill and the student expectation. Okay, so we chose number 1. Let's go back over here. Let's just choose A. And so I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go back over to my template and I'm going to paste it. We're done with this section. If you would like to erase my directions after you've answered it, that's fine. You can leave them there. It doesn't matter. The next piece is right here. Write the student learning objective here. Okay. Now, this says, see previous handout on writing objectives, but I've actually put that link right here. I probably ought to just erase this now that I think about it, because what you need is right here. Writing an objective, okay? And then also it says, see my example in the Google Drive folder. Let's go look at the example and see what it looks like. So we're going to click on that. And here's my example. After reading here, write the student learning objective here. Okay. After reading and hearing passages from the text entitled Affirming Students' Right to Their Own Language, the student will be able to use text evidence to support appropriate responses with at least 95% accuracy. Okay, so I'm going to write an objective that's kind of like that. Let's go see what we can do here. But I need to know how to do it. So let's click on writing an objective and let's learn how to do it. So when you click on that, you're going to see that I've highlighted for you this section right here. We aren't going to start up here because really I've already talked with you about all of this stuff up here, so you can read that on your own. But here it is. Now, here's a statement that I tell all of my new students. When you become a teacher, the chances of your principal, assistant principal, or instructional specialist, whomever, the chances of them going to your lesson plans each week when they look at them and saying, oh, Miss McGillicuddy, you did not write a very good learning objective. That possibility is very, very small. In fact, when I was a principal, I didn't really look at the objectives very much. So you might be wondering, why in the world do we have to do this if we're not going to be held accountable for it when we're teachers? Well, you will be held accountable for what students actually do in the classroom. See, my whole point in showing you how you can write a basic lesson plan is to introduce you to the concept of alignment. You can think of the word alignment in a lot of different contexts. So alignment of tires on a car, alignment of teeth in your mouth, alignment of political beliefs. What it means is agreement. And when your principal goes into your classroom, he or she is going to see whether or not what your students are doing and what you're teaching is in agreement with the standards. Is it aligned to the standards? So they may think, okay, so Miss McGillicuddy is teaching math. The knowledge and skill is number 1, and the student expectation is A. Is she actually having the students do exactly what that says, or is her lesson misaligned? In order to get you to see how alignment begins from the top with the standard, that's the reason why I'm having you write an objective. And when you get really good at writing lesson plans and at teaching, you probably won't have to write one anymore. But for now, it's a really good learning opportunity to see as you write this objective from the standard and then design your teaching based on that objective, and then design your closure and your assessment based upon that objective, then you will have aligned your entire lesson. Okay, so let's look at this. Number 1, begin with the student will or the student will be able to. Well, that's easy. Let's go over here. And let's say the student will be able to. I have abbreviated that. That's fine. Let's go back over and see what the next piece is. Number 2 says use the same verb in the standard. Okay, so let's go back over here to our standard that we chose. And it says the student uses mathematical processes to acquire and demonstrate mathematical understanding. That is the context behind the student expectation. So the student is expected to apply mathematics to problems arising in everyday life, society, and the workplace. The verb in this sentence is apply. Okay, so let's go put our verb in the right place. The student will be able to apply. Okay, we're batting 1,000 so far. Let's see what else we need to do. Number 3, indicate what students will do with the verb according to the standard. What are they going to do with apply? Let's go back to the standard and see what it says. They're going to apply mathematics to problems arising in everyday life, society, and the workplace. So we're going to take that exact same piece and we're going to copy it. And we're going to put it right here. Okay, so far writing this objective has been pretty easy. Let's go look at the next step. Number 4, state the conditions under which students will perform the verb. Okay, now I can close out the circle. Remember I said that teachers don't have a choice of what to teach because we got to teach the TEKS. We don't have a choice of when to teach it because when we go to a school district, they're going to show us a scope and sequence that tells us what we're going to teach in each of the different 6 weeks or 9 weeks in the order that we're going to teach them, okay? But we do get a chance to select how we're going to teach it. Some teacher teams work together and they come up with lesson plans together. It'd be really cool if when you got a job, you were able to work in a school like that. But that still leaves choice to the teacher. How am I going to teach my students to master this objective? Let's go look at the objective again. The student will be able to apply mathematics to problems arising in everyday life, society, and the workplace. What am I going to use to teach that? That's going to be the under what condition. Under what condition will students perform that? In other words, what are you going to use for students to learn that? I'm going to say with my imagination, which you will use when it's time for you to think of how you're going to teach your lesson. So I'm going to say by buying and selling goods in a classroom store. Okay, so that's my idea. That's my under what condition. That's what I'm going to use. So, and I'm not a math teacher, everyone. My background is English and language arts and reading and curriculum and instruction. So math is not my strong point. I'm just kind of coming up with an idea. You people who are going to be teaching math, you probably can come up with an even better idea. But my vision for this pretend lesson plan is that I would have a little store set up in my classroom. And when I do flesh out my lesson plan for this idea, I would look directly back at this student expectation or my objective that I'm building here. And it says that they've got to be able to solve problems, to apply mathematics to problems arising in everyday life, in society, and in the workplace. And so the scenarios that I would need to come up with for my students to be able to do that need to agree with that. So buying and selling everyday items at the grocery store, buying and selling everyday items as this relates to our society as a whole and as it relates to the workplace. So I would need to come up with scenarios that fit those things in order for my idea for my lesson to be aligned to the standard. We got most of our parts put together here, but there's one more part. Specify the degree to which students will perform the verb. Okay, this is an easy thing too. No principal wants to hire a teacher who's satisfied with students mastering an objective at maybe 20% or 30% or 70%. No principal would be happy with that, and no good teacher would be happy with it either. And all you're saying here in this last portion of your objective is that you want your students to be successful. You're going to say with 95 to 100% accuracy. Okay? And we're done. That is our learning objective. And again, why are we learning to do this? Because now that we have our learning objective, which is clearly aligned or in agreement with the TEKS that we chose, because here is our knowledge and skill and student expectation. And this objective is written directly from that knowledge and skill and student expectation. So we know it is aligned. So that now, next week, when we start to write our lesson plan, teaching plan, and our activities, our modeling, our guided practice, our independent practice, our other activities, our assessment, we can make sure that the students are doing exactly this, and it will be aligned. The whole lesson will be aligned. But let's review one more time why this particular way that I wrote this objective is correct. Let's just label all of those parts. It says begin with the student will or the student will be able to. Okay, so there's number one. Now, you don't have to do this on your objective. I'm just showing you this because I want you to know exactly how we lined all of this up. The second one said use the same verb in the standard. Okay, so the same verb in the standard was applied. And by the way, if you have more than one verb here, you need to include all of them. But let me tell you this. There are a few objectives that require a lot of verbs and a lot of things to do with those verbs. And I have known some teachers decide, you know what, that's a lot for my 45-minute period. That's a lot for my hour-long class. What I'm going to do is write an objective on part of that standard today, and then tomorrow or the next day, we're going to come back and teach the rest of that standard. Let me quickly give you an example of what I mean. So to briefly illustrate that, here is a student expectation with two verbs in it. It says add and subtract whole numbers and decimals to the 100th place using the standard algorithm. Okay. If I were, and most teachers would not do this, but let's just use this as an example. Let's say, you know what, I really want to focus on adding whole numbers and decimals to the 100th place using the standard algorithm. We'll do that part today. And then tomorrow we'll subtract whole numbers and decimals to the 100th place using standard algorithm. So what I've shown there is that I do plan to teach the entire student expectation. Cannot leave any of that out, but I can break it up if I'd like. So that I would do addition of that concept today and then subtracting on tomorrow. But the point is, I don't leave it out, period. I've got to teach the whole thing. So back over here to check our objective to see if it's correct. Number 3 says indicate what students will do with the verb. Okay, so let's go back over here. I chose the words exactly from that student expectation up here. They're going to apply, do what with apply? Mathematics to problems arising in everyday life, society, and the workplace. Okay, and then the 4th one says, state the conditions under which the student will perform the verb. Yep, we got that, because we're going to use buying and selling goods in a classroom store as our condition under which they're going to master that. And then specify the degree to which students will perform the verb. My statement there is with 95 to 100% accuracy. That is how you write your objective, and I think you are ready to go. Now, let me emphasize one more time. I simply put those numbers there just to show you how I put that together. I'm going to erase the numbers now so that I can emphasize that you do not need to put numbers on yours. Your statement will look just like this. Unless you want to write out, the student will be able to. That's totally up to you. But your statement will look very much like that. So your job now is to go select your TEKS, select your knowledge and skill, 1, select your student expectation, just 1, and write your objective in the first, in that space on your lesson plan cover page. So let's go back to the discussion board. Here we are. And remember, I said you had 2 discussion posts that dealt directly with alignment. Well, one of them is what is instructional alignment? And I see that some people have already responded. Perhaps this video might help enhance those responses that you've put, because you're going to just tell me what you believe it is. The second one is instructional alignment in U.S. history. Pardon my voice. When you click on that, you're going to see a prompt that involves you watching a 22-minute video. I'm hoarse today, y'all. Pardon me about that. And you'll need to watch that video and listen for how this teacher aligned his lesson to his standards. Now, he's in New York, and so he has a different set of standards. This is a history class, and he's concerned about his students who haven't done well on some type of benchmark. So he has gone back to the standards, and he's picked out the pieces of the standard that they need to master. And he has designed and developed a lesson to align with those selected pieces. After you view the video, then respond to these 5 questions about his alignment. And that's it, everybody. I will talk with you later.